Hi, I'm Linus Merriweather.
And I'm Touraine.
It's the year 2020. Today we discuss all the different Linux distros and which one, in our opinion, is the best.
Let's get started.
Who is Linus Merriweather? I'm an IBM engineer with 35 years experience working with at least 20 different computer operating systems. I was rated as a level 5 support engineer with AIX in '91. I graduated top 10 of my class in electrical and computer engineering. I've written code in over 25 different languages and am certified as a DBA in DB2, Informix, Oracle, SQL Server, and MySQL. Polly is a trusted advisor, fellow IBM mainframer, and the sane one of the team.
And best looking. Hi.
How popular is Linux? There are a number of websites that rank operating systems. StatCounter shows that Linux is less than 1% compared with the big boys of Google, Microsoft, and Apple. The funny thing is, Android is based off of the Linux kernel, and Apple used Steve Jobs' Next operating system, which was based off of Berkeley Unix. I was around when DOS was invented, which is the foundation of Windows. Its command shell is basically a rewrite of a Unix shell. It still has standard out and piping. So everything you see here is descended from Unix.
So I use Linux when I'm on my Android phone. I guess I know what's the best version already. Hold on, let me get my phone. I think the kids are Facebooking me.
Around '93 was my first look at Linux, the Red Hat distro. It barely ran and was quite a bit of work to get VI, awk, and grep running. Now, all the servers worldwide are running Linux, and IBM bought Red Hat last year, and there are hundreds of Linux distros.
Why look at Linux?
I've just retired, I'm bored, the pandemic has locked me indoors. What the heck? Which Linux distro is the best?
You know, the lawn could use mowing. The grass is really long, and the neighbors are giving me dirty looks.
How will I test 40 or more Linux distros? I could install each one on a physical computer.
You already have at least 10 computers. There's no more room in this house.
Since Windows is so popular, why not use that as a base and test the different Linux distros as virtual machines? If a distro doesn't work reliably as a VM, I could use this as a criteria and rule it out as unworthy for further investigation. Since I found VMware to be a slightly better platform, I used this as the primary testbed and moved on to VirtualBox with only the distros I liked best.
Speaking of Windows, they really need washing.
Our daughter is a nurse, and she told us that when young doctors aren't sure, they just Google it. Scary, huh?
Very frightening.
So I did the same thing. Ask Dr. Google. Trouble is, there were hundreds of experts on the web, each in love with more than 20 different distros, all ranking them uniquely. It reminded me of the AT&T versus Berkeley fight, except it's 10 times worse. So how can I get a handle on all this advice? Make a spreadsheet and rank the rankings.
Sheets? That reminds me, it's your turn to do the laundry.
Here is my first attempt to rank Linux. The right column shows my linear weighted algorithm. Green is the top ranking, yellow is next, white is below average, and red is unacceptable. The left column shows what I eventually rated each distro. As you can see, there are issues with my algorithm. I rejected 8 out of 10 of what the experts said were the top 20 distros. Only 2 of these recommendations I really liked, and my yellow and white don't correlate with the rankings. Basically, my conclusion with the Google method is that opinions are opinions and I need a better algorithm.
You know, the rhythm method is why we have so many kids.
As I started installing various distros that the experts had recommended, I came across the Distro Watch website, and they had a page hit ranking. Very cool. So I added their top 20 to my list of distros, and I enhanced my personal ranking algorithm with the additional data. Thank you, distrowatch.com.
Yeah, thank you so much, DistroWatch. So, you're not done? There's more?
Yes, let's see what that looks like. Much better. No red rejects on this list, and no more below average distros either. I used the 12-month ranking of DistroWatch's top 20. Plus I added 7 of my favorite at the bottom of the list. This ranking is still not perfect. Red Hat ranked at 44? I don't think so. Depending on the date range filter, different distros can have different rankings.
That's quite a list.
Basically, these rankings are a combination of opinions and effective marketing. I still need a better method.
Why are you using Linux? And when will this end?
I know, this is taking quite a bit of time. Operating systems don't really do anything. It's the apps that get things done.
That's true. It's definitely not you that get things done.
I started looking at the cool apps that came with some of the distros and made this a criteria too. If a distro didn't come with at least the basic apps, I marked it down as boring and incomplete.
Boring,
There were some distros that specialized in education or security that were really cool and had some fascinating apps. Bonus points for them. Also, what about all the different versions of desktops that each distro comes with?
You know, our desktops could use a little dusting when you find some free time.
Desktops. These are only a few of the most popular.
That's quite a list.
Which one is the best? Good luck with that. And does it really matter when choosing a distro? Yes and no. If you're an Apple user, your desktop choice may be different than a typical Windows user would choose. I found certain desktops work better with certain distros, so that adds to the confusion of making a single decision on which is best. I left desktops out as a criteria and ended up testing just the most popular and interesting versions of each distro.
Popular and interesting, just like me. To me, apps are what make computers useful.
I looked at over 80 apps and marked down a distro if I was not able to find, install, and run my favorites. As you can see, I have expanded my favorites from ones I used in Windows to new gems I found in Linux. Some distros had more than one way to install apps. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Also, just because it installed doesn't mean it worked properly. I didn't hold it against a distro if my favorites weren't pre-installed, but if nothing was installed, I did resent the extra effort.
80 apps? Wow. Some of these apps are my faves as well, and free.
/Etsy. Finally, there are a few other criteria I use to throw out a distro. You want me to pay? I don't think so. Out you go. You lock the OS so I can't fool with it? Goodbye. I have to use your hardware? No. Too hard to install? Next. It locks up or won't run some apps? Sorry. Finally, a few distros had bizarre screen resolution issues. Not worth my time to fix. Of course, this stuff changes all the time with the latest patches, so maybe next year I'll try again.
Next year? I don't think so.
Here is a brief pictorial history of Linux distros.
OMG. Let me get my glasses.
I had to split this picture up into 3 pieces to get it to fit. What a mess, huh?
Each line is a distro? It looks like thousands.
500 to 600, I think. Red Hat was the first distro I heard about back in '93, and it's been a huge success in the server market. IBM just bought this company. A few earlier distros died out or evolved. Current distros like Debian, Arch, and Red Hat are foundations for other Linux distros. For example, Mint is based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian.
Sounds like a recipe. Your turn to cook dinner tonight.
No more history. Let's get to the final version of my Linux distro rankings.
Yes, finally is the word I was thinking of.
Any distro in yellow is worth consideration, and I keep them around in VMware as a reference system and a testbed. Raspbian made my list only because I'm a huge Raspberry Pi fan. As a double E, it's one of the main reasons I started using Linux. Android x86 looks just like my phone and runs many of my favorite Android phone apps. Very cool, Mr. Google. Way better than Chromium. It was a pain to install in VMware though, and the interface is flaky. Mint is number one, but only by a few points. Kali and Zorin are right there neck and neck. So that's my list.
Raspberry Pi with Mint. I think we have some in the fridge.
Mint is a winner with a little Raspberry Pi mixed in, but a new version of Mint just came out. I guess my results are now meaningless. Never mind, sorry to waste your time, Governor. Welcome to the world of Unix. I mean AIX. No, it's called Linux now. Sorry.
So all of your computer work is like Zumba. It makes you faster and stronger. Or maybe you can mow the lawn now. It's been weeks. You know, if you want to do a really useful video, you should do one about Linux applications.